at where are we? The bus stop. Waiting to go to Elephant and Castle, and then from Elephant and Castle we're going to Victoria. Are you excited for Edinburgh?
No?
Are you excited for Edinburgh?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be good to have a girls' weekend.
Yeah, definitely.
So definitely needed. But this one made me run all the way back home.
Can't believe I left my phone.
She left her freaking phone on the couch. So I had to run all the way back home to get it, and now we can relax.
Yes.
So yeah, we'll...
Got my phone now.
She's got her phone. But we will...
It's a crappy one, but it's still a phone.
It's still a phone. We will see you with the next update, I suppose. Right, peace. Bye. Bye. Hey guys, so we are in Edinburgh now.
This is our budget hotel.
But it's fine, we're only here for sleeping and showering, so, you know.
And pooing.
Alright, Mum. You're turning into Dan. So, the journey here wasn't pleasant. I had a few
Issues, to say the least.
With some people, because they're inconsiderate. You know, it's a sleeping coach for a reason, night coach. You know, you're meant to sleep, not be awake at 3:30 in the morning on the phone. But it's fine, we're here. We're tired, but we're okay. We're gonna go to get some breakfast and go to London. No, it's not London.
Edinburgh Dungeons.
Edinburgh Dungeons.
Got a long way to go to the London Dungeons.
And then we got a Harry Potter walking tour today. Might check out Primark, because why not? You know, your girl loves Primark. And we've got the Harry Potter cocktail making thing this evening, so that should be fun.
Do you know what that means?
No.
Scotsmen don't wear nothing under their kilts.
Oh, that's rank.
That's even for you.
Well, anyway, we'll keep you updated throughout the day. Over and out, I guess. Mum?
Huh? Oh yeah, bye-bye.
Bye.
part, we'll be talking about aspects of Scottish history that she was inspired by, and then we move on to looking at stuff. When I say stuff, I mean things that she was properly inspired by. We're talking about the street that inspired Diagon Alley, the school that inspired Hogwarts. We'll see names on graves, including Tom Riddle for all my Slytherins that are on the tour today. Yes, it's going to be good. Now, I want to talk to you about J.K. Rowling's wife first, but it's a little bit loud out here, so I think we're going to slide into this courtyard here, and we'll talk about what her life was like and what brings her here. Come on, this way, we'll get started talking. Coming nice and close, guys, just if any cars start moving about in here then. Here we go. Alright, folks, so let's talk about J.K. Rowling. What brings her to Edinburgh? Because she's not from here. Does anyone know where she's from?
London?
From just outside London, but yeah, she's English. And she was actually living in Manchester. And she was on a train on her way into London to do a bit of paperwork. And it was on that train she had this flash of inspiration. She didn't have a laptop or a cell phone or a tablet that she could write all this down. She had a napkin and a bit of paper. A napkin and a pen, sorry. And she took that pen, she wrote on the napkin, little boy finds out he's a wizard. And that was kind of the first seed that was planted of Harry Potter in her mind. Now, the move that she was making, going down to London to do this paperwork, was for a trip to Portugal. She was moving there. She was moving to the northern Portuguese city of Porto. She'd met a man, she was going to get married, they were going to settle down, have a family. It's going to be great. And that's exactly what she did. She moved across to Porto, she became an English teacher, and she kept working at her book. Now, she got married and had a baby across there, a little baby girl. However, in 1993, she moved to Edinburgh. Just her and her child, no husband. Now, there's a lot of speculation out there about what went wrong in her marriage. I wouldn't like to do that. I don't think it's particularly fair to her or her family. But we do know that that marriage broke down and she moved to Edinburgh. She moved to Edinburgh for a very good reason. This was where her family was. She didn't speak to her dad. They were estranged. Her mother had sadly passed away. The only family she had left was her sister. She lived in Edinburgh, married to a Scottish guy. So she moves here and she moves into a part of Edinburgh called Leith. Has anyone made it out to Leith yet? Oh, you should definitely check it out. It's very nice. I actually live in Leith now as well. It's a nice part of town. Lots of cool cafes, bars. It's like the equivalent of Brooklyn in New York for my New York friends on the tour, yeah. In more ways than one, because as much as Brooklyn's very nice and hipster now, what was it like in the early 90s? A little bit rough, yeah? Leith was like that too. Leith still has parts of it that are a bit like that. Has anyone seen the film or read the book Trainspotting? Yeah, all of that was set in Leith. All of it. In fact, throughout the 80s and 90s, Leith in particular, Edinburgh in general, but Leith in particular, was the heroin and AIDS capital of Europe. It was a rough part of town, and that's where she found herself staying, with terrifying neighbours. Whenever her daughter was being looked after either by her family or in preschool, she would come into town, go to the coffee shops around town, because it was nicer to write there than it was to sit in her apartment. It was also cheaper for her to buy a cup of coffee than it was for her to heat her apartment, so much nicer for her to come into town. She finally gets the book finished, and she thinks, great, I'm going to sell this, I'm going to make loads of money, I'm going to get myself and my daughter out of this situation we found ourselves in. And every major publishing house rejected her. They all said no. Till finally a little imprint called Bloomsbury took a punt on her. They said, okay, Joanne, we love the book. The story, the little boy finds out he's a wizard, we're going to market this to little boys. But I'll tell you one thing we know about little boys, they will not read books by a woman. And you, Joanne Rowling, are a woman. So we're going to have to do something about that name. She said, okay, no problem. She actually has a male pen name. Does anyone know what her male pen name is?
JK.
Robert Galbraith, absolutely right. If you ever read a book by a guy called Robert Galbraith, it's actually by J.K. Rowling. And they said, no, we don't need to do that. We're just going to use your initials. So J, middle initial, Rowling. Can anyone tell me what the K stands for? It's Kathleen. Kathleen. Does anyone know what her middle name actually is? She doesn't have one. Kathleen was her grandmother. Her name's just Joanne Rowling, but they needed a middle initial for the book, and she decided to take her grandmother's name as a little bit of acknowledgement towards her. It's quite nice. The book came out, big success with little boys like me, little girls as well, big boys and big girls too. Became a global phenomenon. So much so over the next decade that after the last book came out in 2007, J.K. Rowling was nominated for and won the Edinburgh Award in 2008. Now, when J.K. Rowling won the Edinburgh Award in 2008, she was the first ever woman to receive the Edinburgh Award. Now, for those of you who don't know the Edinburgh Award, it is a very prestigious award that we give out annually to someone who has positively impacted the international reputation of the city. J.K. Rowling fits that mould, I think. First woman to receive it, though. You see some of you are giving me a look like, Angus, what kind of sexist country is this? Why are you not giving out the award to women? Well, she was also the second ever recipient. We only started giving it out in 2007. So the first person to get it was a guy called Ian Rankin. He's been writing this detective crime series novel set in Edinburgh for about 32 years, yeah, since I was born. And he got the first one. J.K. Rowling got the second one. And Mr. Big Time, my favourite person that ever received it, got it in 2009. That is Sir Chris Hoy, Olympic gold medalist, 6-time Olympic gold medalist from right here, possibly the greatest track cyclist of all time. He got it when he still only had only 4 Olympic gold medals. He won a further 2 at London 2012 and then retired. Now, when you get the Edinburgh Award, you are immortalised. Your hands are put in concrete outside our council offices. Oh my God, what are we standing in front of just now? It's the council offices. Let's go and look at some people that have won the Edinburgh Award. Also, prepare yourself. We've only been going since 2007. It's like the saddest walk of fame you'll see. It's not that exciting yet. We'll fill up. So the most recent recipient's actually another woman. Her name was Anne Budd. She hasn't had her hand put in the concrete yet. That'll be just there. Most recent person to have their hands put in is this guy here, Doddy Weir, former international rugby player. And you can kind of tell that. Look at the size of his hands; they're humongous. He was recently diagnosed with motor neuron disease. I think in the States you guys call that ALS. And he's been doing an awful lot of work in trying to raise awareness for this, to try and find a cure for him. You've also got Ken Buchanan, Scotland's first ever world champion boxer, so he's quite big time. And then there's a guy that I'm kind of disrespecting just now. This is Sir Tom Farmer. I don't like Tom Farmer because he owns a football club and I don't support him, so yeah, we can do that if we like. Now, the next one up, again, we're moving a little bit further back in time, you'll find a very famous figure from the world of physics, and that is Professor Peter Higgs. Nobel Prize winner, discoverer of the Higgs boson particle, really smart guy, lecturer in mathematical physics at Edinburgh University. Not very good at pushing his hands all the way into concrete, as you can see. And then the ones you really want to see, Ian Rankin, Chris Hoy and J.K. Rowling, they're right here. These are J.K. Rowling right here. And if you want to grab pictures, there's plenty of time built into this tour for that. If you want to compare hand sizes, you can do that. If you want to compare hand sizes, but you don't want to put your hands in the dirty ground, mine are about the same size, so you can check against me if you want to, okay? But grab your pictures, and then once you've got that, we'll head out around this way. Which part of the city are you guys in?
I live in
Okay.
He's in Manhattan.
We stayed in Manhattan when I was last time.
Yeah.
What was that? Last time we were over, we just stayed in it was nice. It was Airbnb. It was good. Cool. Alright guys, so we talked about the rather inauspicious beginnings for J.K. Rowling. It started off, she was dirt poor, living off of benefits. In fact, the week before the first Harry Potter book came out, the electricity in her apartment was shut off because she couldn't pay her bills. Now, when it came to mid-2006, and she was starting to write the last book, things were different. She wasn't poor anymore. In fact, she was very wealthy. She had moved. She didn't live in Leith anymore. She had moved out to the west of the city, a place called Barnton. Now, Barnton, the EH4 postcode, is the highest concentration of millionaires in Britain. Billionaires still in London, but the highest concentration of millionaires is in Edinburgh and Barnton. She was with her people. She had remarried. She's got a husband. He is a doctor, I want to say. I don't know too much about him. Keeps himself quite private. But she's remarried with a new husband. She's had a new baby as well. So she's got an infant child. Her daughter's grown up, is now a teenager. She's got all the money she could ever need. Things must be pretty good, right? Well, you just have different problems. See, when you're that wealthy, what you've got to do is manage your money. So she's got to spend a lot of time speaking with financial planners and financial managers, investment managers, to make sure that she doesn't lose all her money. Also, she's got an infant child. They take up quite a lot of your time. She's also got a teenage daughter. Now, I don't know how much experience you guys have with teenage girls, but I have 3 sisters, and let me tell you, they can be challenging at times. She couldn't focus in the house. It was too stressful for her. Also, she was feeling the weight of the expectation. Everyone was waiting for this last book to come out and give a satisfactory ending to the series. She was suffering from writer's block. She couldn't focus in the house, so she decided to take herself out of that situation. Check herself into a really fancy, really expensive, really exclusive hotel. That one over there, just through the trees. The Balmoral Hotel. It's a real fancy place. Recently, I don't know if you guys know this, but Will Ferrell is in town just now filming a film. And that's where he's staying. We just last month, finished up filming for Fast and Furious 9 in Edinburgh. That's where Vin Diesel stayed. And last year they had, last year was when they had the Avengers filming here. And that's where the cast stayed. So it's a really fancy place, and that's where J.K. Rowling checked herself into. Now, when she finished writing Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, can you imagine what that feeling must have been like, that outpouring of emotion? I don't think I'll ever experience this in my life. I don't think I've ever committed my life to anything enough to be able to experience that. It must have been huge. She did something that a lot of people think was quite erratic. I think I kind of get it, though. She took a Sharpie and she wrote on the side of a bust of the Greek god Hermes, J.K. Rowling finished writing Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows in this room, January 2007, then signed it, J.K. Rowling. Now, for any of you that are paying for accommodation, like you're in an Airbnb, a hostel, or a hotel, don't write on antique busts of Greek gods, because you'll get your credit cards charged, okay? Don't do that. Not there, though. They recognised just how important that was going to be, and they put a little brass plaque on the door. The J.K. Rowling suite will now set you back about £1,000 a night.
Wow.
Yeah, very expensive. Now, they hate it when people go in and take pictures outside the J.K. Rowling suite. They absolutely hate it. But you know what? They're a really fancy hotel. They're not going to tackle you to the ground. You walk in like you own the place. It's room number 522 on the 5th floor. Promise you'll get away with that. I've done it like 6 times. It's fine. Promise you. Okay. If you are rich enough, and I'm going to call it weird enough as well, if you are weird enough to want to do this, you can spend extra at the J.K. Rowling suite and get the same bed sheets as she had.
Okay then.
Okay, you're all saying like, I don't want to shatter any illusions, but if you're staying in a hotel, you're not the first people to sleep in those sheets. You know, they do wash them, right? That's okay. But yeah, I don't think you want to try that anyway, because who would want to do that? That's a weird thing to want. We're going to move on a little bit though. We're going to head down this hill here. I want you to keep your eyes looking down here. Just see how deep this goes, all the way down to the train station, because we'll talk about that. When we get to the traffic lights down there, we'll cross over the road. And on the other side, we're going to talk about an aspect of Scottish history that she was very inspired by. Talk about our witch trials. All the excitement witch trials is later. We head on though, I want to talk to you a little bit about Tom Riddle, because I don't know anything about the man, right? The guy that's buried there, I have no idea about him, his life, or anything like that. I do ever know quite a bit about Voldemort, and I know a few things about him. Like, first of all, we say his name wrong. Like, I'm going to challenge you now to say Voldemort. Voldemort? Yeah, see, you did it, you said it wrong. You said it with a hard T on the end of it. Should be pronounced Voldemort.
Voldemort.
Is that French for death, M-O-R-T, Mort. And that's actually how the first 2 audiobooks were recorded. And then Daniel Radcliffe came along. The first Harry Potter film came out, and he was like, "Oh, what's a Voldemort?" That's how every English person sounds in my head. I'm sorry about that. Like Daniel Radcliffe, Jason Statham, the Queen, everyone sounds like that in my head. Every single one of them. But yeah, he had to change the pronunciation. The official pronunciation was changed. Also, speaking of the audiobooks, one of my favourite stories is when J.K. Rowling first met Stephen Fry. He was a little bit rude to her, right? He was a little bit rude to her, said some fairly uncomplimentary things about the book, and she remembered this. Anyway, a few years later, he gets tasked with reading the audiobooks. And in one of the books, I think it was the 3rd book, there is an expression that says, Harry pocketed it. So Harry picked someone and pocketed it, put it in his pocket. And Stephen Fry struggled to say this. He couldn't say it. He was saying it over and over again. And J.K. Rowling had this big thing. She was like, we're not changing anything from the book to the audiobooks. I want kids to be able to read and listen at the same time. I want it to be exactly matching. And eventually phones her and said, look, I'm having a real problem saying this phrase. Can I say Harry put it in his pocket? Just this one, please. And she remembered when he was a bit rude to her, and she said no. And every single book after that had the expression Harry pocketed it. Every single one, she put that in out of spite. So fair play. Another thing about Voldemort. Let's get back to Voldemort. His middle name is quite interesting, isn't it? What's his middle name? Tom Riddle? Marvolo, yeah. It's an interesting name. Like Tom, Riddle, quite normal names. Marvolo, weird name. And that's because you had to have that bit in Chamber of Secrets, right? Where you write side Tom Marvolo Riddle, it says, I am Lord Voldemort. Yeah, that works in English. Doesn't work so much when you change languages, though. Does anyone happen to know what his middle name is if you were to read the books in French? Elvis, yeah. Tom Elvis Jezidwal, no less, yeah. But Elvis, come on, who's being scared of Elvis? Although my absolute favourite is Denmark. I mean, I know I've talked about Denmark a lot, and I feel I'm triggering my Swedish friends on this. I know the Danes, they changed everything. Does anyone know what his first name is in Danish? Romeo.
Oh my gosh.
Romeo G. Detlef Jr. is his full name. That's right, he's got an initial in there, no name, so that it could work. That's fun. Although the Portuguese also went with a slightly different way. They decided not to change anything. They just wrote it all out entirely in English in capital letters and put a little star next to it and wrote it in Portuguese at the bottom. This is what this would mean. Yeah, so that works as well. It's all good. Now, we're going to head towards the front of the church. We'll go on this side of the church, we'll go at the front, and we're going to talk a little bit about legacy. Now, that makes it sound like she's dead. She's not. But we're going to talk about the legacy that she's left on this city and this country, what she does with herself these days, what she does with her money these days. We might talk a little bit about Twitter as well. Let's go this way. What we're standing on just now is Victoria Terrace. And Victoria Terrace is above Victoria Street. Victoria Street is my favourite street in all of Edinburgh. And that's a bit of a cheap, easy thing to say because it's everyone's favourite street in the entire city. It's stunning. It's a really beautiful little cobbled street. Lots of fun, quirky shops on there as well. And I think this was the inspiration for Diagon Alley. And I say I think, what I mean is I know this is the inspiration for Diagon Alley. There's a few reasons that make me know this. Number one, when they started doing the first film, they asked J.K. Rowling for any sketches for locations so they knew what kind of sets to build. And when she sketched Diagon Alley, she sketched this street. Right? So this is J.K. Rowling's idea of one of those. Also, the shops that are on there as well, they remind you of Harry Potter. At the top, there's a green shop there called John Kay's Bookseller, and it's probably the inspiration for Flourish and Blotts. Come a little bit further down, you get Walker Slater, this really fancy tweed shop. They make tweed coats, and skirts, and jackets, and it's an incredible place. Very expensive. But probably where you get your dress rolls. You go right to the bottom of the street and you find a place called a Ha Ha Ha. And what a Ha 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 sells are practical jokes and magic tricks and things like that. So this big fake nose and mustache and glasses hanging off in front of you, that old kind of Groucho Marx disguise that people yeah, it's one of them hanging over. Probably the inspiration for the Weasley's joke shop in the Harry Potter series. There's also a bunch of Harry Potter shops as well. You've got the Boy Wizard across the road, which I strongly recommend against visiting. I don't think it's very good as a Harry Potter shop. However, on this side of the road, you've got the Museum of Context, and that's the best in the entire city. You've got 3 stories of Harry Potter related stuff, plus other kind of curios and oddities that you can buy in there as well. Definitely worthwhile checking out. There's also a few other shops that are maybe not quite connected to Harry Potter, but are still worth your time. There's a tea and coffee shop where they'll blend things and sell really cool little teapots and things like that. There's an artisanal cheese shop, and I don't think I need to say any more than that. It's an artisanal cheese shop. It's amazing. There's also a place called Oink. Now, do we have any vegetarians on the tour? Any vegetarians, vegans, no one, people that don't eat meat? No? There's usually one or two, but that's okay. That's fine. If you were, you would not want to eat the Oink. They do one thing, and they do it well. Every day they roast an entire pig. They stick it in a window, they shred it, they sell it in rolls until it's gone. It is probably the best pulled pork sandwich in the world. That's right, Americans, I said the world, fight me. It's the best in the world, and it is incredible stuff, so never recommend that. Now the place I think is almost definitely making this Diagon Alley more than anything else is the Museum of Context. Not because it's a Harry Potter shop, of course, not because of what it is, but because of what it was. Up until the early 2000s, what is now the Museum of Context was Robert Cresser's brush shop. You sell brushes for sweeping your floor, for sweeping the streets, for cleaning your toilets, for brushing your hair, for brushing your teeth. Not all the same brush. And I remember going in with my grandmother in the early 90s, and she needed a new brush. She just grabbed one at the side of the wall and said, "This one will do me." The guy behind the counter went, "Oh, madam, no." No, absolutely not. You can't just pick up a brush and take it. No, sweep the floor. And he made her sweep the floor of the shop because he firmly believed that the brush chose the customer, not the other way around. And that doesn't sound like Ollivanders. I don't know what does, right? So yeah, I think that's what gave her the inspiration for that. Now, I love this street. I don't want to talk about it too much. I'd rather we just walk down it. So we're going to have a very leisurely walk down. There's a set of steps just to the left there. We're going to stroll down, take a look into all these shops, find places you might want to come back to. We will finish this tour, like I said, between 4:30 and 4:45, so everyone will still be open then as well. If you want to come back to somewhere, you'll be able to as well, alright? So let's head down this way. Now we've stopped here not because of anything to do with J.K. Rowling, but because of this gravestone right here. This is the grave of Greyfriars Bobby. This is one of Edinburgh's kind of iconic stories. We made this graveyard very famous before J.K. Rowling came along. And Bobby was the dog who sat on his master's grave for 14 years before dying himself and being buried here. There's a little statue of Bobby just inside these gates. It's one of the most photographed statues in Britain. So yeah, if you've not yet got a picture of this, you should get a picture of it. And if you don't know the story,